Hey everybody, welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. Today we are going to show you how to make these super adorable miniature granny stockings. We did a live stream last year in which we made a few along with you, and we even have a written pattern for them up in our Etsy shop. But today we are going to show you how to make not one, but two versions of the same adorable little stocking. So using only one color, or if you want to shake things up and use two. This is a great scrap project. They make the sweetest little ornaments for the Christmas tree. They're adorable on top of presents as little toppers, and they're just big enough that you can fit some treats in them, including a little candy cane. So let's grab our hooks, grab our yarn, we'll head on over to the craft table, and we will stitch up some of the cutest little miniature Christmas stockings you have ever made. Each of our little mini granny Christmas stockings only uses between 5 and 10 grams of yarn. So not a lot of yarn, it's a definite scrap project. No more than 30 to 40 yards per stocking. This is a fun opportunity to pull out some of those Christmas variegated yarns and give them a try because it looks really cute all done in self-striping or variegated colors. You might want to make it solid. I'm going to demonstrate one using this solid green color today. It's got this pretty little tinsel running through it. I'm also going to show you how you can change colors halfway through. So I'm going to make one that's both white and red so that you can get an idea of how this flexible little pattern looks just by changing colors. You can get a really different looking stocking. This is all a size 4 medium weight yarn. It's all acrylic, but you can use wool or cotton, whatever kind of scraps you might have lying around. You can also change the weight category. So if you use a heavier weight category like a 5 or a 6, make sure you use a bigger hook size. If you use a lighter weight category like a 3 or a 2 or even a 1, make sure you use a much smaller hook. So you want to vary up your hook size if you're going to change the weight category of the yarn you're using. You need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle, and if you're using the yarn I am, you want a 5.5 millimeter hook, also known as an I or a 9 in the US, a size 5 in the UK. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, take a moment to click that button and the bell so you never miss another Christmassy episode. And once you've got all that together, we can get started. Please visit our shop and purchase a pattern. It helps support our show, and we'll put a link to our shop in the description box down below. Our little mini granny stockings are actually made using a granny hexagon. So that's what we're going to build here. It's a 2-row or 2-round granny hexagon. So we're going to begin with a slip knot, and we're going to chain 7. Once you have a chained length of 7, you want to find the first one you made, so the first chain, and join with a slip stitch to make a ring. So we've got a nice big ring here that we're going to work into. We're going to chain 3 to begin. The chain 3 at the beginning of each row does count as a double crochet. We're going to work 2 double crochet into the ring, and that will complete our first shell. So a shell for this pattern is 3 double crochet all worked into the same space. And since our chain 3 counts as a double crochet, that's our first shell made. You're going to chain 2 in between shells, and you're going to work 3 more double crochet into that circle. So 3 double crochet is a shell. We want 6 shells all together in our first row or our first round. Once you've worked 3 double crochet or a shell into that ring, chain 2 before you begin the next one, because we want 2 chains in between each shell. Those chain 2 spaces are all going to be corners. So 6 shells and 6 sets of 2 chains in between each one. As you're working your way around, you might find that 5 shells fills up the space in your ring. No problem. Just grab your last shell, pull back on it, and give yourself a little more room to maneuver. That way you can work your 6th shell, or the last shell, into your ring with space. And once you've finished your last shell or your last 3 double crochet, don't forget to chain 2, because you need a chain 2 corner space in between every single sort of one of your shells. So you've chained 2, you're going to find the top of that chain 3 that you began the row with and slip stitch to join. So you should have something that looks like this. If you lay it down flat on your table, you can sort of find those little chain 2 corner spaces and pull them outwards with your fingers, and that will give you a definite hexagon shape. So you've got 6 sides, 6 shells. That's the first row. If you are going to change colors, so I've got another one here that I started in white. If you want to change colors, you don't have to, but if you do, this is the easiest way to do it. Finish your first row, snip your yarn, fasten off. You can take a moment to weave in that tail if you want, or you can just work over top of it, or leave it to the end and weave all your tails in later. So that would be if you want to change colors. Grab your new color. So I'm going to use this pretty red here. Make a slip knot. Pick up your first row or your first round. Pick any corner space, so we're only working in spaces. Slip your hook through that corner space. Join your yarn with a slip stitch. And then you can begin row 2 just like we would for anything else. So you chain 3 to begin and continue. So that's if you want to change colors. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. If you're not changing colors, so you want to continue with the same solid color, we do want to start row 2 in a corner space. So we're going to slip stitch across the top of those 2 stitches that stand between us and that chain 2 space. Slip stitch right into the chain 2 space, and then chain 3 to begin. And like the first row, the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. That's whether you're changing color or not. So we're all starting from a corner space. We're going to finish off that shell by working 2 more double crochet. And because we're in a corner and we want to keep that corner going, we're going to chain 2, but before we leave, we're going to work 1 more shell into it. So 3 double crochet into that same space. Once you have shell, chain 2, shell worked into that chain 2 corner that we started in, chain 1 as you're leaving. Think of it as a little space over top of the flat edge of every single side. So as you're crossing over top of a shell from the previous row, make sure you chain 1. You just want a little bit of extra space there. That brings us to the next chain 2 space, and you're going to do exactly the same thing. 3 double crochet or a shell, chain 2, and work 3 more double crochet or a shell into the same space before you leave. So shell, chain 2, shell is worked into every single chain 2 space all the way around. Before you jump to the next one, you're crossing over a shell from the previous row. You want to chain 1 for a little spacer, then you can continue. Jump over to the next one and work shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1. Once you've worked shell, chain 2, shell, chain 1 into every single one of those little chain 2 spaces from the previous row, after you work your last corner, don't forget to chain 1 because you're still passing over a shell from the previous row. Find the top of your chain 3 and join with a slip stitch. And that's it for the little hexagram. So we've got a 6-sided shape here. It's 2 rounds. Here's what it looks like if you were changing colors. So I've got row 1 or round 1 is all in white, and I changed to red. This is really pretty. It actually looks a little bit like a flower. Did the same thing, chained 1, then joined with a slip stitch to the top of my chain 3. And if you wanted to change colors again, so let's say we're going to change back to white to sort of put the whole thing together, you would just do as you did at the end of row 1. Snip your yarn, fasten off. You can sort of take a moment to weave in that tail, or you can leave it to the back, weave it in later once you're finished the entire thing, or you can work over top of it as you go. It's entirely up to you. Now we're going to put the whole thing together, and we're going to add a little hanger. But before I show you where to join your different color for your color changing one, I'm just going to tell you that you want to slip stitch across. If you're not changing color, slip stitch across to the chain 2 space, just like we did at the end of row 1 to prepare ourselves for row 2. So if you're not changing color, slip stitch across to that next chain 2 corner space. And if you are changing color, you can grab the color that you want to edge your entire little stocking in, make a slip knot. You're going to join your yarn with a slip stitch in any chain 2 corner, doesn't matter. So now you're in the corner with your new color, or you're in the corner with the color that you've always been using. So either way, we're all in a chain 2 corner. We want to create our hanger before we move forward. So we're all going to chain 10 no matter what color you're using. What you should have now is a little shape with a chain 10 coming out of a corner. So if you held it by the chain 10, it would almost look like a Christmas decoration already. I'm going to demonstrate the seam with the other color because I feel like the white on the red will be a lot easier to see. So no matter what you've done, whether you've got a solid color one or you're changing color, we're all going to start with our chain 10. We're going to now turn it into the Christmas stocking. So we're going to shift it so that you've got your thumb and forefinger in the chain 2 space that your little hanger comes out of. Find the chain 2 space that's directly opposite of it and fold those two together. Then you can just meet up the other corners and voila, we've got a little stocking shape. We're going to take our hook, we're going to go right through those two chain 2 spaces. So we're going to finish with our little hanger, slip stitch right through both of those chain 2 spaces. So there's our hanger attached now. And now we're going to single crochet through both edges. So we're going to create the seam. We're going to single crochet all the way down the back of the stocking, around the heel, down the bottom of the stocking, and up around the toe section. So remember, you're creating a seam, so you want to grab the first 2 stitches, make sure your hook's going through both of them, and you're going to single crochet. Now I'm going to just work over top of that little short tail. And then you find the next one. You pick up the next stitch, look over here, make sure you're getting the next stitch, and single crochet. And remember, every shell has 3 stitches in it. And where you joined your yarn, you might be sort of working through the top of a chain 3 from the previous row. Don't worry, just grab whatever's there. Make sure you've got 3. You can work through the chains or just right into the space when you come up across the little chain 1 space. It's whatever works. And then continue. You pick up the next 2 stitches. Make sure you're always getting both sides, and continue single crochet all the way down to that little corner or the heel. So we're single crocheting the seam together. I went ahead and I finished the green one just so you could sort of get an idea of that shaping. So you want to work your way all the way down the back, around the heel, down the bottom, around that little sort of toe corner, and then up into the top of the toe. And we're going to get sort of a little turned up toe shape when we're finished. So when you get to the first corner or the heel, you've worked a single crochet through each of those sets of stitches. Work 2 single crochet in that little corner chain 2 space. So 2 single crochet into that space to sort of round the corner. And now we're heading into the bottom. So we're going to continue to make sure that we're getting both sets of stitches through both sides, because we don't want any of the little goodies that we sort of stuff in here to fall out the bottom. And you're going to continue like that all the way across to the other toe, or to the toe I should say, the other chain 2 corner space, and you're going to work 2 single crochet into that space as well. Once you've worked 2 single crochet into that last chain 2 corner space, so there's the heel, there's the bottom of the toe, so we're going to go up the top of the toe now. You should have 2 shells sort of sitting against each other, so 3 stitches here, 3 stitches here, and a little chain 1 between them. We're going to single crochet through each set of those 3 stitches that are left. And when you get to the last set of stitches, we're going to do something a little different. So get your hook in there into that last set of stitches. We're going to work 3 single crochet in the same place. So you're going to carefully work 3 single crochet all through that last set of stitches. And then we're going to chain 1. Or I should say we're not going to chain 1, we're just going to slip stitch now into that same place. So 3 single crochet and a slip stitch all worked into that last set of stitches, which just kind of gives us a little curve to the toe of our little stocking. That's it. You can snip your yarn. Fasten off. And then you want to grab your yarn needle and you can weave that tail in underneath the backs of some of those single crochet. So I like to just sort of get my needle in there first. Make sure I'm getting all those stitches, especially if you've changed colors. You want to make sure you're weaving your tail underneath similar colored stitches. And then just weave it back and forth a few times until it all disappears. Lastly, you can take your chain 10, your little hanger, pull up on it so that it makes a nice sort of big loop, and that way you can hang your little stocking either on the tree or anywhere else, maybe by a little miniature mantle. And that's what you've got. So that little miniature granny stocking all in one color, you get sort of a neat little solid colored little stocking shape with a little turned up toe, or you can change colors each row and get a fancier looking stocking. Same pattern, completely different look. And there you go, a very quick and easy little Christmas craft. They make such cute little gifts or little decorations. In fact, you could just string a whole bunch of them together in a garland and hang them up in a room. We hope you had fun making those along with us today, and we will see you soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have a wonderful week, everybody. Bye!
Hi, everybody. Mr. InStitches here. Thank you for watching today. Here are some of our other videos you might be interested in. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.